Harry today has said that he would like to see you do more to end the war in Ukraine. Do you think it's appropriate for a royal to make those comments ahead of the visit on Monday?
Prince Harry?
Yes, sir.
How's he doing? How's his wife? Please give him my regards, okay? No, I don't know. I know one thing. Prince Harry is not speaking for the UK. That's for sure. I think I'm speaking for the UK more than Prince Harry. But I appreciate his advice very much.
Would you have
great
invited
advice
to the dinner, to the state visit?
Well, I look forward to the dinner. We're having King Charles come. He's a friend of mine. We're really looking forward to it. We've spoken, and we're going to have a great time. I tell you, if I had that ballroom built, it would be filled. I wish we had more seats. We're going to have very great people that love the UK. I love the UK. I think they made a big mistake on energy. You should open up the North Sea in Aberdeen. You should open it up. And the other thing is they've made a big mistake on immigration.
So, as you know, yesterday, Harry was invited to keynote the Kyiv Security Conference. And in his speech, he made calls to certain nations and their leaders, in particular America, to step up and do the right thing by Ukraine and honor the Budapest Convention. So while number 47 was given a press conference, as he usually does, a British-sounding journalist decided to ask him a question, and they wanted it to produce a certain response, as they usually do. So the journalist, we do not know where he's from, but some people are speculating he might be from GB News, asked number 47 whether he thought it was appropriate for a royal to make comments about Ukraine ahead of the king's state visit on Monday. The clear implication of the question was that Harry had done something diplomatically inappropriate, which of course Harry hadn't. And that a non-working, well, they keep saying non-working, like the royals who are there, they don't do it anyway. Don't let me even get into that. That a non-senior working royal or whatever, who is a private citizen who happens to have a royal title, had overstepped by calling for American leadership on treaty obligations at the security conference. And number 47's response began with, how's he doing? How is his wife? And please give him my regards. And then said that Prince Harry is not speaking for the UK, that's for sure. Then he said, I'm actually speaking for the UK. And a lot of people have not even taken notice of that sentence. Like, he is saying he is speaking more for the UK than Harry is. Yeah, this is where we've got to in the UK, where our so-called allies, at this point, I just feel like the UK has always been I don't want to use the word dog, the pet that America leads by the collar. Yes, as if America has a lead around the UK and it's leading the UK in whatever direction it wants to go. And I appreciate that there's been a fallout between our leader and possibly number 47. And I think maybe for once, and it reminds me of this scene in Love Actually, where the British Prime Minister, for a change, stands up to the American president. So maybe that needs to happen. But anyway, I got distracted. But number 47 said, yep, I appreciate his advice very much. Great advice. And he then moved on to talking about the visit by the king and how he is looking forward to the king visiting and that him and the king are friends. Interesting. I tell you this though, in 10 years, 20 years, when history looks back at this time and they look back at the people who enabled number 47, there are going to be similarities to how a certain royal was used in the propaganda in Germany. That's all I'm going to say for now. So I want to take a look at each and every one of these elements because it's what I do. And yeah, let's just have a look at because my thoughts are not fully formed, as you can imagine, and I don't want to just ramble. I want to get to the point. So he said, how's he doing? And give my regards. I think that's notable. And I think, if you think about it, number 47 and Harry, they have a documented, I wouldn't say outrightly hostile, but I would say a non-cordial history, because Harry's immigration status was threatened publicly, and Harry actually wrote unflattering things about number 47 in Spare, fully justified, and it was the truth. So their relationship is not warm by any documented account. And yet, when number 47 was asked a loaded question that was designed to produce criticism, number 47's first instinct was to ask after the well-being and also ask after Meghan. So I found that a bit strange. So I think he is very desperate for the visit from the king, and he doesn't want anything to derail it. So number 47 can behave himself when there is something in it for him. When he has certain interests and certain image to protect, he is capable of behaving himself. And the also not speaking for the UK element is technically accurate, but the framing I feel is very odd, because Prince Harry never claimed to be speaking for the UK. He was speaking for himself, and he was speaking as himself. He spoke at an international security conference as a private citizen with military experience. In fact, he opened his speech by saying, I am not standing here as a politician. He was not standing there as a representative of any country. He was just standing there as a soldier. Something number 47 will know nothing about, seeing as he allegedly was said to have dodged the drafting a number of times. But anyway, that's a different matter. So I think Harry was speaking from his experience as a soldier and from his long-standing connection to Ukraine, and not representing British foreign policy or the British government or even that family. So number 47's correction aimed at Harry was at a claim that Harry never made. So we need to clear that. Also, the great advice element is very interesting, because whatever number 47 means by it, he didn't say that Harry was wrong. We need to note that. And I thought that was actually a very key component. He never said Harry was wrong. He never said Harry was inappropriate. And he never said that Harry was overstepping or that Harry was out of line. He never said that. And this is someone we know who is never, ever, ever hesitant on calling people out. So that's interesting. He said he appreciated the advice and called it great. This is not the response that the person who asked the question deliberately was fishing for. They also, they were hoping clearly that number 47 would provide ammunition to have against Harry. And that didn't happen. So, at the end of the day, we need to note that Harry's argument, and this is my point, and this is the bit that I spoke about in an earlier video. Harry's actual argument in Kyiv was not aimed at any particular president or any particular administration personally. He spoke about the Budapest Memorandum and America's historical treaty obligations. That's all he spoke about. He said, if you sign something and you do an agreement with a country, honor that agreement. That's all Harry was saying. He did not name number 47. He only spoke about institutional responsibility grounded in documented diplomatic history. There's proof, there's evidence, there's documents, there's timelines, there's screenshots. Honor your obligations. That's all he's saying. And he called out 3 countries in particular. He called out America, UK, and Russia. So he was very clear in what he said. So the framing of it as Harry, criticizing number 47, that was a press construction. That was a construction from GB News. And I bet the person who probably asked that question was probably from GB News. So at the end of the day, nothing to see here. Harry has said his piece and he's moved on. And as usual, the press are reacting in the way that the press usually does. But anyway, let me have your comments in the comment section, please. My name's Elizabeth. I'm the author of The Luxpreneur. And for more insights like these, please like, share, comment, and hit the subscribe button, please. Thank you for getting me to 6,000 followers. Truly, truly, truly appreciate. But like I say, we've got 94,000 to go. And it's all down to you guys because you told me to aim high. But to support my work in holding truth to power while I'm growing my subscribers to 100,000, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Elizabeth Solaru, or you can get a copy of my book, The Luxpreneur, from Amazon, Waterstones, or Barnes & Noble.
The British press expected criticism. Trump offered warmth. Instead, the journalist, who some think might be from GB News based on the framing, asked Trump whether he thought it was appropriate for a royal to make comments about Ukraine ahead of Charles's state visit on Monday. The clear implication of the question was that Harry had done something diplomatically inappropriate. That a non-working private citizen who happens to have a royal title had overstepped by calling for American leadership on treaty obligations at a security conference. Trump's response began with, "How's he doing, and how's his wife, and please give him my regards." Then he said, "Prince Harry is not speaking for the UK, that's for sure." Then he said, "I appreciate his advice, very much, great advice." And then he moved on to talking about Charles's visit and how much he is looking forward to it. The commenter noted that the British press presumably hoped Trump would provide ammunition to use against Harry and instead got a request to send his regards to Meghan. That is an accurate reading of what happened. The loaded question. A British journalist asked Donald Trump about Harry's speech in Kyiv because the response was not quite what the question was designed to produce. The journalist, who some think might be from GB News based on the framing, asked Trump whether he thought it was appropriate for a royal to make comments about Ukraine ahead of Charles's state visit on Monday. The clear implication of the question was that Harry had done something diplomatically inappropriate. That a non-working private citizen who happens to have a royal title had overstepped by calling for American leadership on treaty obligations at a security conference. Trump's unexpected response. Trump began by asking how Harry was doing and sending his regards to Meghan, which is notable given their documented hostile history involving immigration threats and unflattering passages in Spare. Then he said Prince Harry is not speaking for the UK, that's for sure, a framing that was technically accurate but slightly odd, given that Harry never claimed to be representing British foreign policy in the first place. Then Trump said he appreciated Harry's advice very much, called it great advice, and moved on to discussing Charles's visit. Whatever Trump meant by great advice, he did not say Harry was wrong, inappropriate, overstepping, or out of line. This is not the response the question was fishing for. The British press went to number 47, expecting ammunition, and got warm regards instead. The significance of personal warmth. The "how's he doing" and "send my regards" element is notable. Trump and Harry have a documented hostile history. Trump threatened Harry's immigration status publicly. Harry wrote unflattering things about Trump in spare. Their relationship is not warm by any documented account. And yet, when asked a loaded question designed to produce criticism of Harry, Trump's first instinct was to ask after his well-being and send regards to Meghan. That instinct, whatever motivates it, contradicted the entire premise of the adversarial relationship the question assumed still governed their interactions. It suggested either a shift in dynamic or a recognition that public hostility does not preclude basic civility when directly prompted. Either way, the warm regards were not what the framing anticipated. The technically accurate correction. The not speaking for the UK element is technically accurate, but slightly odd framing. Harry never claimed to be speaking for the UK. He spoke at an international security conference as a private citizen with military experience and a long-standing connection to the veteran community. He was there representing himself and his commitment to Ukraine, not representing British foreign policy or the British government or the British royal family. So Trump's correction was aimed at a claim Harry never made. The great advice that wasn't supposed to be great. The great advice element is the most interesting. Whatever Trump meant by it, he did not say Harry was wrong, inappropriate, overstepping, or out of line. He said he appreciated the advice and called it great. This is not the response the question was fishing for. The journalist had carefully constructed a question designed to elicit condemnation, to produce a clip of Trump criticizing Harry for diplomatic overreach, to create a headline about transatlantic royal controversy. Instead, Trump short-circuited the entire premise by explicitly appreciating what Harry had said and labeling it great advice. That is a remarkable deflation of the intended narrative. The question was built to give the British press exactly the ammunition they wanted to use against Harry. Trump himself confirming that Harry had behaved inappropriately. What they got instead was Trump complimenting Harry's contribution and moving on to talk about how much he was looking forward to Charles's visit. Harry's actual argument. It is also worth noting that Harry's actual argument in Kyiv was not aimed at Trump personally. He spoke about the Budapest Memorandum and America's historical treaty obligations. He did not name Trump. He spoke about institutional responsibility grounded in documented diplomatic history. The framing of it as Harry criticizing Trump was itself a press construction. Trump heard it as advice, appreciated it as great advice, asked after the family. The characterization of the speech as a personal attack existed primarily in the media interpretation rather than in the substance of what Harry actually said at the security conference. The failed press strategy, the GB News framing, did not land the way it was intended. What the question was designed to extract was criticism. Ideally quotable criticism that could be packaged and circulated as Trump condemns Harry or Trump sides with Palace against Rogue Royal. What it produced instead was Trump offering personal warmth, technical clarification that corrected a claim Harry never made, and praise for advice he characterized as great. That is not ammunition. That is the opposite of ammunition. And by the time the clip began circulating in British media circles with the inevitable dissection of what Trump really meant and whether this constituted a snub or an endorsement, Harry had already left Kyiv and was no longer in the news cycle the question was attempting to charu. The press strategy, such as it was, failed on its own terms.